Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Callum and James in the studio, and joined by a special guest, Jake. How you going, Jake?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good. How you going, boys?
Yeah, not bad.
Same old.
We talk about Jake occasionally on the show.
Friend
of the show,
of the
Jake,
show.
one of the silent producers of the show.
And we were talking before
And he's
the
never.
show.
I'm not sure he's been on the new show.
He had just before the pandemic. We talked about Sonic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been
That
a
was
while,
the last
yeah.
time he came on the show, and we were talking before we got on air. Like, you haven't been here since. You haven't been on the radio since before the
Pretty
pandemic.
much since around that
So
time.
probably Sonic was probably the last time
Probably.
you might have been on
yeah.
the radio.
I think so.
And we finally got you back
Yeah.
for.
Finally come back in for another video game movie.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Just when he thought he was out, we dragged him back.
Actually, we were talking about you last week or the week before with the game that was even broke you.
Oh, we
Fire
mentioned
Fire
Emblem.
Emblem.
Fire Emblem broke
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Because Callum was like, even Jake could do it, and I said that's not true. Jake is the best at video games.
Oh, that game. I tried. I did my best to love it.
Because for audience listeners, Jake is a long-term Fire Emblem franchise fan.
Yeah.
And this is the game that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
the new one, yeah.
Yeah,
The newest one.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Fire Emblem Engage.
Yeah. It
Anyway.
has its merits, but
Yeah. Anyway, we're here to talk about movies.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
Jake's our video game expert, so we're going to talk about the Mario movie a bit later.
Yeah, but first we want to talk a little bit about John Wick Chapter 4.
Yes. So
So we've all seen it at this point. It took us a couple weeks.
I saw it when it came out like a month ago,
Yeah,
And
and
then
it took us a little while. 'cause
you guys
of work
saw it-
schedules
yeah.
and everything else.
more recently.
Yeah, look, it's
Do you guys want to just give your opinions before I go on my rant?
yeah. Well, I'll give my opinion, and then we'll get Callum's opinion, Jake's opinion.
I don't really
Yeah, I
have
know.
He hasn't
but,
seen
yeah.
Look, I think the action is good. The sort of it's like a set piece movie.
Yeah.
The world's good. It's got it's a traveling movie. You got Japan, you got France, you got
Yeah.
all that. That's all lovely. The character stuff falls apart for me
Yeah.
because you've got Kane and I forget the guy's name. The
The guy with the dog.
no, that's another issue.
Well, yeah, you got.
But the hotel owner or the hotel manager of
Winston.
Osaka.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got all these characters that are apparently really good friends with John Wick from way back, and
Yeah.
they're just like, "Oh, remember I owe you one."
Yeah.
And then that's it. We get no further exploration into their relationships.
Yeah, I mean that's most of the John Wick movies is because he's so notorious,
Mm.
and then he goes up against someone that he used to, or runs into someone that he used to know. But I think this movie wastes a lot of. It's a 3-hour movie. It wastes a lot of time doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like like he's had a relationship with these characters in the past, and it basically never explores it. And I'm just like, I know the movie's already 3 hours long, but I'm like, it's wasteful.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like,
I
does he
feel
need
a lot
to
of
be
it-
friends with every character in the universe?
Yeah, I also feel like a lot of it is setting up spin-off and like later movies, and I'm like, it's starting to feel, which is one of my problems with Chapter 4, is it's starting to feel like it's going to go into Marvel territory.
Yeah.
Because you've got the Ballerina spin-off movie coming out, and you've got the Continental prequel series coming out, and there's a lot of characters introduced in John Wick Chapter 4, and I'm just like, if it's starting to feel like they're just, it's getting out of hand. Like it's a big franchise now, because everything has to be a franchise. It can't just be a movie.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, the action was good. The set pieces were good. But yeah, a lot of the story, as you said, is getting too much. Yeah. Callum's opinions.
I forgot to prepare my AI statement.
Yeah, actually, I did generate a GPT John Wick review when I thought we were gonna do that. Yeah.
So I guess I'll have to give my actual opinions.
I'll see if I can find it. It'll be funny.
For Jake, you probably didn't listen to the AI episode, but we did a whole thing where we prepared AI statements. We did AI reviews, so we told AI to prepare us a podcast review.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got it to review Dungeons and Dragons for us.
Yeah, and it was ridiculous. For some reason, it hated Alum. I don't know if it was the way James put the prompt in,
it's
but
because I said Callum, Nathan, James, and Alum review the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Callum likes the fantasy elements. Nathan is just kind of level-headed and laid back. James is like interested in the production and costume design, and Alan makes inappropriate jokes because he always does.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But the AI
Sounds
doesn't know what to
appropriate.
do with that. It's too
Yeah.
vague.
Yeah.
So
So it says stuff like, "I like the shirtless men."
So I kept regenerating it, and at one point, Alan's thing just says, "Hey, I'm just here for the shirtless guys and the inappropriate jokes."
So, if you've seen at this point, if you've seen one John Wick movie, I mean, past the first one, I guess, because the first one's the most iconic, the most
It's
solid,
the most
I guess.
grounded too.
Yeah. So if you've seen John Wick 2 and 3, you know what you're expecting. Like Nathan said, it does have a lot of interesting locations, but I feel like it doesn't really use those locations to its fullest potential because it seems to take place in like one main area in each city.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, apart from Paris, it doesn't showcase.
Paris is the main.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like some of the smaller areas like Berlin, I think, and Japan, it doesn't really showcase that environment
Yeah.
and its culture to the way
It's
it
mostly
maybe should.
you just go. They go to the city and then they go to an indoors place.
Yeah, so it could be done in a soundstage, and I wouldn't know any different, I thought there were some interesting characters, such as the Marquis and the gentleman with the dog. I thought was an interesting character.
Mr. Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Nobody, but it doesn't.
Tracker.
It doesn't spend enough time exploring who they are, where they're coming from. Because I mean, it is a John Wick
Especially-
film, right?
yeah.
But like, I feel like there's definitely
Which-
characters beneath the portrayal, and I want to know more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just don't give you that. And like you said, it's a 3-hour film, so it's like instead of wasting so much time on kind of monotonous
It's
action
not-
sequences at times, they really could be, having more character moments. Even more exposition, frankly, like what's the table's relationship to the market?
That's a big problem. Yeah, that's a big problem I have with the
What
movie.
are the rules? We know how the hotels work,
Yeah.
but I want to know more about the rules about how the world at large works.
Yes.
And we don't get that. We see the Elder at the start of the film, and it's like,
Oh, yeah, that's a big problem for me. Yeah.
who's this guy? Where does he fit in? I kind of don't care. There's no introduction. The stakes aren't set at the start.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it proceeds. We do get stakes at, towards the middle of the film when we see that John Wick is running out of time.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't set it all up. So you have this, like you said, a franchisee kind of feeling to it. But
Yeah.
it's supposed to be an action thriller, it's not a science fiction movie. It's not a fantasy movie. You know what I mean? I always try to compare it to Mission Impossible.
No, but they're
it's
completely different. Yeah.
But Mission Impossible does these large, high stakes ideas, but it kind of doesn't feel like there's no mysterious back characters who know everybody, and that doesn't explain
Well, I mean,
it.
Mission Impossible does that as well. Like, I was behind it all, and
But it
I'm
does
from your
it does
past.
it. I'm not
Yeah.
comparing the two directly. I'm just saying
No.
there's a way to do it without it falling flat, like it kind of does.
Chapter 4 can feel a bit maybe bloated.
Bloated's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That being said, like all John Wick movies, the action choreography in this film
Yeah.
is top tier, premium level Hollywood, edge of my seat, popcorn eating, fantastic
Some
movie
of the best,
making magic.
Yeah, some of the best action I've seen in a long time.
And I was telling James and Nathan at one point, I saw an article from Variety magazine where they talk about how Keanu Reeves is such an expert with guns that during the film itself, you'll see scenes where John Wick's gun jams, and he, John Wick unloads the gun or he pulls the lodged
Yeah, he
bullet
clears
out
the
or whatever.
jam. Yeah.
That was like not in the script. Some of those times weren't even in the script. That was Keanu Reeves unjamming his gun so they could continue filming. But he didn't call stop or anything.
Yeah.
He just unjammed it, and then the actors around him, I guess, adapted to the pause.
Yeah.
Which, again, like movie making magic,
From what I've heard, read in the trivia and stuff, Keanu Reeves doing his combat training and firearms training and hand to hand combat training. Like, apparently all his instructors are like, he's the best at it. He's the fastest to pick it up.
Yeah.
He's better at it than the Navy SEALs that actually have to do it for real life. Yeah, apparently Keanu's just really good at picking that stuff up and doing it really well.
And the final
And it
act,
comes across in the action scenes.
it does. It looks very authentic.
Yeah.
You know, it's organic looking. It's not. It's not like some action
what-
movies you see. It's very stiff. It looks very choreographed. So it's like you can only see
this
the action
movie's
for
heavily
certain shots.
choreography, but it's because you've got a stuntman, an ex stuntman as the director, and you've got all these great stuntmen working on the movie, and it just shows that
It feels very natural.
yeah.
And it culminates in this epic final hour of madness.
Yes.
Which
The
I
last
thought-
hour of this movie is insane.
Yeah, fantastic. There's one. I want to call a shout out to one specific scene.
I know
where
which one you're going to talk about.
Top down.
Yeah.
There's a top down action scene where you see. I guess they had a huge sound stage where they could have the cameras above the interior location,
Looking down.
and
through
so
the ceiling.
John Wick has a shotgun that has like fire bullets or whatever.
I'm
they're
glad
called.
they added the fire bullets. I wonder if they tried it without the fire bullets.
I can't
Because it was
think they-
visually
yeah,
a little not.
I think
it wasn't
they did it on
clear
purpose
enough.
because it looks like a Hotline Miami kind of
Yeah.
game, and I feel like they added the
Well, they kind of
fibers
had
so
to
that you
'cause
can see the
otherwise-
muzzle.
yeah, otherwise you wouldn't have been able to see
like
where
in a
he's
video
firing
game.
at as
In a
easily.
video game, where you
Yeah.
can kind of see your
And
bullets
it's
coming
because
out.
you can see where everyone is on the screen. It adds another layer of tension to it, which I think is
Yeah.
fantastic. And it's supported by this awesome techno score.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a techno guy, but with when the action's playing and you have the techno music blaring at you,
Yeah.
it just feels amazing to watch.
I like, one thing I like about Chapter 4 is I feel like the music got a bit more electric, a bit more electronic, which is right up my alley. In the previous movies, the score was a bit more maybe rock heavy, whereas this one, I was like, I think there was a few bits with maybe a bit more synthy or like techno-y, and that for me was awesome.
I have one comment. Do the police just not exist in this?
Yeah.
That's part of my
universe?
problem. Yeah.
Because
They don't-
Should I go on my rant and
Yeah,
it'll
please.
tie
Jake,
into
they
that?
have shootouts in public in the near the Arc de Triomphe.
Just no
And
law
there's just
enforcement
nothing.
at all.
There's chaos happening.
people of Paris
in
ain't
the
no
middle of
snitch.
Paris, and there's no police anywhere.
Yeah.
That's all.
911 doesn't
James.
exist in the John Wick
Yeah.
universe.
It's so I love the John Wick movies. I'm a big action movie fan. For me, the second one, I know people will probably like the first one the most. For me, the second one is my favorite. I think it's the best. It's the perfect balance of like the kind of groundedness of the first movie and the sort of more comic booky,
Mythologized world
yeah,
building.
the lore. I love all the the high table and the continental and the gold coins and the markers. I love all that stuff. I love when they explore that, and I love how in the second movie they explore that without ever slowing the movie down.
Yeah.
And the third movie, introduces, keeps some of that stuff. But the second half of the third movie gets quite repetitive in terms of just the same action over and over, just shooting. But the end of the third movie sets up a really exciting, not final act, but an exciting way for John Wick to continue as a franchise, as a series. It ends with, Winston shooting him off the hotel, and then Lawrence Fishburne's character, the Bowery King, being like, "Are you mad? Like, are you ready to fight back?" And he goes, "Yeah." And so now we're at chapter 4, and all those things they set up in the previous, let's say, 2 movies, because the first movie is quite self-contained, they just kind of completely blow past it and ignore it.
Yeah.
They set up the villain, the Elder, in the third movie, and then they just completely blast past that in the fourth movie. And they introduce a new villain, the Marquis. And I'm like, hang on. You already had your series villain. You set him up in the last movie.
Yeah.
And you already introduced the High Table and the idea of the High Table. And they just don't really explore that.
It's easier than to dig deeper into that lore. It's easier just to turn around and say, "Oh, I have the authority of the High Table."
But that's
I
what
have
the Elder
authority of
was.
the Elder." Yeah.
That's what the Elder was.
now
And
it's
so
just the
now, but then
Marquis.
now there's this new guy called the Marquis. I'm like, hang on, what are you doing? You've
Yeah.
got the law already set up. they don't seem to, like Callum said, there's no rules anymore. The second movie sort of introduces some of that lore, and it's like, okay, this world has, it's silly and over the top and comic booky, but there's still rules. There's a society of assassins, and there's a hierarchy, and the third movie is about that hierarchy. Very expressly, it's about being serving the high table. And the end of the third movie was like, we're going to fight back. The people under the table are going to fight back against the high table, and John Wick is going to be their sword.
Yeah.
That's your story. The fourth movie, like I said, rushes past that, ignores it all, and is just a 3-hour, just a basic 3-hour structure, a 3-hour, script to have action set pieces.
Yeah.
Which is fine. The action in John Wick Chapter 4 is next level.
Yeah.
The last hour,
Incredible.
yeah, there's like the Arc de Triomphe. It's got a car chase / shootout / fight scene.
It's really cool, Jake, because there's cars going around the roundabout, and they're just trying to fight
Yeah,
between
fighting in
cars.
between.
Thinking about how to film
It's
that,
insane.
it gives me anxiety.
I saw an interview where they talked about how they like shut down an airport in Germany or something. No, because of lockdowns during COVID, they were actually able to shoot certain things at the real Arc de Triomphe when it was empty, which is like never happened before. It's never been empty before. So COVID was kind of a blessing in disguise for them. And then they went to like an airport in Germany and they actually shot it with cars going around and stuff, and they blended it together, and it looks really good.
It does look really good.
And then, and then it goes from that to like the top-down Hotline Miami video gamey kind of bird's eye view action scene with this explosive shotgun. Awesome. And then it goes to this giant staircase that just goes on forever, and they're going up and down and up and down, and it's
edge of your seat.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's some of the best action. It's like some of the best like action sequence I've ever seen.
Even the duel, even though it's not like as fast-paced action heavy as the rest of it. Tactically, it's still tactical. It's still like
fits in.
Stakes are still super high.
Yeah.
You can
so
feel
like
it,
that. The last hour, I'm like, this is awesome. And even like the first half, even though for me it felt kind of the action's awesome, but it felt like, okay, we already saw the big shootout and fight scene at the end of John Wick 3. The first half of John Wick 4 is basically just repeating the action scenes of John Wick 3.
I think some of the action can get a bit repetitive.
Yeah.
Not to take away from its uniqueness, but it doesn't necessarily have to be dragged along.
Exactly. And that's my problem is it's a 3-hour movie and they're setting up all this stuff, but none of it's, at the end of the day, none of it's really important, and they ignore all of the stuff they set up in the previous couple of movies.
Yeah.
And I think for me that's a big problem is... Yeah, it's just you had the perfect story set up at the end of the third one, and they just decided to go in a different direction. And the direction they went in is fine, I guess, but it's basically just a simple idea to hold up action sequences.
I think it's
which is most people are there just for the action sequences, but I'm kind of like, but the action sequences were good in the first two movies and even the third movie, and those had decent stories.
And you have such a mysterious world you can be playing with.
It's extra disappointing because the mythology and the lore behind the universe is so good. It has so much promise.
Yeah, that's why the second one's my favorite, because I love the action.
That's where they nail it.
But yeah, I'm like, oh, this world it sets it apart from other action movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, John Wick Chapter 4, I liked it. The action is next level, but the story is not very good.
Yeah, that's fair.
To sort of go off what Nathan was saying is, do police just not exist in this universe?
Jake, they blow up buildings, man. They have shootouts at the Arc de Triomphe very publicly.
Yeah, shootout and then through the house and then up the stairs, and there's not even a siren to be heard.
Private SWAT teams running around hotels. I'm just like, what's going on? Yeah, where are the police?
And the second movie kind of sets up that it's like, okay, this is a fun comic booky world where everyone's an assassin.
It's okay if you do it in the desert,
but
it's less okay if you do it in
but even in the second movie, there's action scenes in the city, and it's kind of like, but you get a sense that once they do the fight, they have to run away. There's at least one scene in the second movie where there's sirens. You hear cops coming. There's action scenes that don't take place in the middle of the street, you know. And if there's that funny bit in the second movie where they're using silencers and it's like pew pew, and all the people don't even notice, and it's kind of funny. But
there's that scene where John's on the horse and stuff, but that's also like a chase. It's not kind of like
exactly. They're not in the and they're not in the same place for an extended period of time. Yeah, but the fourth movie gets to the point where if you didn't like the second and third movie because you thought they were too over the top and you liked the more grounded nature of the first movie, God help you with John Wick Chapter 4 because now it's gone full cartoonish.
Yeah.
And part of that is the cops, and part of it there's a big fight scene in a nightclub, and just no one reacts to it. They all see people getting shot, and I know maybe the filmmakers thought it was funny, but it's gotten to a point now where it's super cartoonish.
Yeah.
And going along with that cartoonishness, which I like that kind of comic booky, but it's gone.
There's a line.
It's gone too far. Jumping the shark territory.
Yeah.
And I think part of that ties back to the problems I have with the story, where the first movie is probably the most grounded, both in terms of the world and also the emotions. Second movie introduces some of that cool comic book lore stuff, but still kind of grounded in terms of like the motivations of the characters, and you know the villain he's a comic booky villain, but he's also just kind of a greedy. He's got human emotions. John's motivations are still, you know, in the third movie, even though it gets a bit more ridiculous, you still get where people are coming from. The fourth movie, everything seems to be cartoonish. The villain is very mustache twirly.
Yeah.
Even John himself has become a caricature of what he used to be.
Yeah.
He's become, like that's it.
Yeah. That was a good impression.
Like the first episode title, the first the first two movies, he actually has dialogue and monologues.
That was Keanu Reeves' choice. He cut it down. He had heaps more dialogue, but apparently he pared it all down.
So I think that's a problem.
It is because
it's gotten to the
like
point
you said, it
now,
makes him just like an
he's
agent
no longer,
of
he's
the
no
narrative.
longer a character. He's no longer a man who lost his wife and is on a path of revenge. Now he's just
an agent of narrative.
A caricature of himself. He's just an action.
He propels the narrative forward. That's all he does.
He's just a gun with legs.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's a big problem with this movie because, like I said, even though the action is awesome, it's just I didn't care. And they're introducing all these new characters who are cool. The Marquis is a good villain. Mr. Nobody is a cool sort of frenemy.
Yeah.
You know, all the other villains and allies are cool. You know, Donnie Yen is awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's just like all this stuff being introduced, and I'm like, okay, it's unnecessary, and also it's starting to feel kind of franchisey and Marvel-y, and I'm like, no, I'm
anticipating the Kane TV show.
Yeah, like I said, there's already spin-offs and prequels planned, and who knows where it'll go from here. I think that Chapter 4 is doing very well financially, so they'll probably even maybe do more John Wick movies. They've been talking about John Wick 5.
Yeah, which I knew they were already discussing John Wick 5 by the time I saw John Wick 4. So the ending of John Wick 4, which we won't spoil, I was like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, will he come back? Will he not come back? Who knows?
You kind of spoiled it, but
No, I mean, like, you know. But I was like, man, you're already talking about John Wick 5.
Exactly.
So it's like, don't tell me he's retired or whatever because...
Yeah, don't set the character up for a finish if you're
potentially
if you're already telling people...
Because I was like, man,
don't retire.
I saw the headlines. They're already in talks. It's like, what are you doing?
But the ending for Chapter 4 just completely fell flat for me. It didn't feel like an ending at all.
No.
Just like the end of the third movie was like a cliffhanger. It's like, okay, next movie is going to go off.
The original
end of this movie just felt very flat.
The original cut of this movie was closer to 4 hours long.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was a point where they said, we have to cut down on either the story or the action. And they were like, we can't cut down on the action because that's our wheelhouse.
Because the ending, it's like you have action for like most of the film, and then it's like hard cut, end sequence done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's no transition between the story arc and the finale.
Yeah.
It's just like it happens, and then you see the final shot credits.
Yeah.
So there's no moment where the characters can have that moment to absorb what happened. You don't see anyone's reactions to what's happened in the final sequence. It's just hard cut done.
Yeah.
Which I think is a huge problem.
It felt very flat for me.
Yeah,
Especially because the last hour of the movie is some next level shit.
Yeah.
And the action is insane and just never lets up. And then at the end, it's like the end. John Wick rides into the sunset, and I'm just like, this is not an ending.
No,
where is number 5, please?
The other hour of
Because
story got cut.
maybe, yeah. But even then, I find it hard to believe
Yeah.
that they would actually, because like I said, the stuff they set up in the previous movies, they can. Part of it, I think, is Derek Kolstad, who wrote the first 2 movies. He co-wrote the 3rd movie with 2 other guys, and then one of those 2 other guys wrote this movie with another guy without Derek at all.
It's diluted.
So I think as the movies go on, Derek's influence wanes, and to the point now where you get to the 4th movie where he's not involved in terms of the script at all.
Yeah.
And I think you can tell because his writing is very strong. You know, what was
Did
the
he
other
write
movie you
Mr.
watched?
Nobody?
Nobody. Yeah, Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, he's got that style and he's got that world building that he sets up in the first couple of movies.
Yeah,
And now he's gone. Maybe that influence, they needed that.
I reckon.
You know.
Yeah, some people are a compass, aren't they?
Yeah. But yeah, it's still an awesome movie.
Yeah,
And
well,
I'd watch it again a million times, and I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch the spin-offs and all that. It's starting to feel now like everything has to be a franchise, and it can't just be the John Wick movies. It has to be. There's the spin-offs and
we have to make new characters now for.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, for
like,
toys,
did you see the end
but
credits?
they're not going to be making
Did you
toys
see
for
the
John Wick.
Did you see the
They
after
might.
credits scene?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, they're setting up all this stuff
Yeah.
for sequels and
Would
spin-offs.
you buy
and
a
TV
little
shows.
John Wick figure, Jake?
I would.
A little
I think
John
I
Oh
Wick
yeah,
would.
Matt,
A little-
friend of the
I
show,
wouldn't say that.
friend of the show, Matty J has Hot Toys, the really realistic 12-inch.
Yeah, he has a John Wick.
He has a John Wick, and it comes with a little pencil,
Yeah,
Of course it
and
does.
it's an actual real pencil with a lead in it, even
my
though it's
God.
only like half an inch long, because it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
accurate to the size of the 12-inch figure. It's got actual lead in it, and you can write with it, even though it's only a little teeny tiny. Yeah, it's awesome.
You know,
Wanna
actually
drive my
imitate
little-
John Wick, like taking down little notes.
But I want a little.
That's not what he's doing with the pencil. Jake.
Okay, man, I don't know.
Have you seen the other movies?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you
I
have to
kills
watch
a
it.
man.
Well,
He kills
Yeah.
a man with it.
Right.
He gives 3 men. Yeah,
I want a little John Wick I can move around in a car. You know,
yeah.
What
John
Lego
Wick play set.
with his
John
family, and
Yeah.
I can gun down his little family.
Scott Adkins' character. what was Scott Adkins' character in this movie? The big German bad guy, the big
Yes.
big
Yeah.
kingpin guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want him like his nightclub play set.
Can you imagine?
That'd be cool.
We'll be
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Lance Reddick.
Oh, yes.
Very, very, very sad. He was only 60, and he's
Yeah.
such a great
Wow.
actor. He was in The Wire.
It's in Resident Evil.
We
one.
we
Liver's
mentioned
heart
him.
disease. Get your hearts checked, people.
Yeah, we mentioned him a couple of weeks ago as well. The last episode, I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
remember. But yeah, he's in this movie as well, and so it's very sad that happened.
Yes, we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to the Tuesday Review. Now we're going to talk about one of our other favourite franchises, Mario. I don't know if that's going to spike on the recording, but yes, it's me, $1 billion success, isn't it,
A
Jake?
little bit of change in tone. John
Yeah,
Wick to Mario.
Yeah,
I mean, well, they're both from New York, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
One
That's
one
something
does
done now.
plumbing and one does wet work.
one is
Yeah.
an adaptation of a video game. One is video game-esque.
Yeah.
both
They-
gone, both gone revenge sequences. you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
that-
but
yeah.
Mario kills a lot.
That's true.
Mario
Mario
kills a lot.
is
A lot of Goombas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it. I mean,
Maybe
yeah.
not people, but
yeah. One shoots shells, one shoots bullets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or different kind of shells.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
What is it in the Mario Rabbids games? He has like a laser gun.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I heard somewhere that Mario in the first game was originally supposed to have a gun.
Really?
Like the
I didn't know
what
that.
was the creator? What's the creator's name? Miyamoto.
Yeah, Miyamoto.
Yeah, he's just like for some reason originally he was just gonna shoot,
Wow. I
and then
didn't know-
they're like, no,
Maybe
this
it
is
was-
too violent.
I don't know. Maybe it was more Mega Man esque.
Yeah, I think it was
Possibly.
like that.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
But anyway, yeah.
So this film by Illumination.
Yeah,
Illumination, yeah.
They did the Despicable Me and
all the
Minions
kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been a while coming.
The first actual animated movie of proper theatrical release of an animated Mario movie.
Yeah.
Probably the second best Mario movie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is nothing beats the 93
So,
live action version, so we should just shut up and turn off the mics.
I do want to say that though. People have been talking about the 93 movie and talking about how much it sucks. Seth Rogen says it sucks. Everyone says it sucks. And I was talking about it at work with someone who also doesn't like it. They think it's trashy or whatever. And I'm like, you have to remember that it's the year 2023. I'm like, you watch this film now, and they build set pieces, they build locations.
I would just ask people to go back and actually watch it.
It's real costumes.
Yeah, as a Mario movie, it's not particularly very good.
But as a film,
as a weird sci-fi fantasy, it's pretty awesome.
Because I'm like, you don't get, they don't build.
It's just
things.
a weird movie. Yeah, it's
they don't build things anymore.
They don't
so you watch this movie now on Blu-ray or whatever, and it looks great. Because they built things, it ages so well,
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that out of the way because we're going to be talking. Anyway. We're going to be talking about the new Mario movie, but a lot of love to the old one.
Yeah, exactly.
They had in our local video store. They had a little display stand set up for it. So God bless them.
Oh, back in the day.
No, JB. Right now.
Oh, for the new one.
No, the old one. They've got a little display stand set up for it.
I want to go there and be like, hey, can I take that?
How much?
Yeah, how much?
Blu-ray, yeah.
It's out on Blu-ray, yeah. I have
the 93 version.
Yeah. You said that,
on Blu-ray. Yeah,
we watched it. We watched it. And for the old show, we reviewed it on the old show. I had it on Blu-ray, and then it came out on Blu-ray in Australia, and I bought it again.
Okay,
because it had special features on it that weren't on there.
But anyway, we're talking about the new Mario movie. But
anyway, wait, can I just say one thing and then I'll shut up?
Yes.
I didn't see the new Super Mario Brothers animated movie that came out. I want to see it. I like Mario as much as
the next man.
Yeah, but I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. I thought Chris Pratt being cast as Mario felt like a very cold corporate decision that some bean counter made. All the other celebrity voices I wasn't happy about, but I was like, they kind of make sense.
Jack
Black as Bowser
makes sense.
He's not perfect, but it's like, oh, that makes sense. He's got a gravelly voice.
Seth Rogen as King Kong makes sense.
Yeah, it's like that's a dumb.
King Kong.
It's like that's.
I was close enough.
That's a dumb idea, but it's like, oh, he kind of sounds like
because the laugh. That's what you want.
Even Keegan Michael Key as Toad. I'm like, that's not right. But he does a good job. Like what. But Chris Pratt?
You know what?
He does okay.
Yeah.
So, and the animation looked good.
Beautiful
But
animation.
I was just like, you know what? This movie feels like a movie made by a committee. We'll
get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
And I have problems with Nintendo and their business practices. And I was just like, I don't want to pay for this movie. I'm going to wait for it to come out on streaming.
Yeah.
So I do want to watch it, and I will watch it when it comes out on streaming in a month or so.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it again then.
Yeah.
But in terms of like this, I was just like, you know what? At the moment,
that's fair.
I'm not feeling it.
This film's had the online discourse for this film has been really interesting because you have a bunch of guys our age, guys and ladies of our age, going to see this film and then being like, "Oh, it sucked," and then like it's very clearly aimed at children. And I want to say I enjoyed the film, but
I have two questions, which actually I'll shut up and then I'll say my two questions at the end. I think you're going to answer one of them now.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. So it's an interesting thing where you have people who've grown up with the franchise, who love the franchise, who are going to go and see and support this film financially, which I will say, it's like I saw a stat that said 60 to 80% of people who saw this film were over 18, bought tickets for this film were over 18, which is a dumb thing because a 5-year-old's not going to go like one ticket to Super Mario Brothers, please.
I know I said I'm going to shut up, but I can't help myself.
No, please, interject.
One of the reasons this movie is doing so well, it's like the biggest opening weekend of any animated movie ever.
Yeah.
One of the reasons it's doing so well, just regardless of the quality of the actual movie itself, is unfortunately, the capitalists are right in this sense, is the brand is bigger than...
Mario is big with all demographics.
Yeah, and Mario's been around for 40 years? So Gen X, millennials and Gen Z, it's like
Even
cross
older-
generate.
even older.
Even
It's like the
boomers know who
parents of the
Mario
kids
is.
would
And they even know,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just like this. Everyone knows Mario, so I think that's why it's doing so well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do want to say that there was an expectation for this film, I think, from a lot of nerds on the internet, at least, that I've seen. And I've read a lot of the... As the boys know, I'm a Twitter fiend. I read a lot of the discourse. I'm knee-deep in it at all times. It's a problem. There seems to be a lot of people who were expecting it to have a very layered Pixar DreamWorks style story, because if you've seen DreamWorks movies or Pixar films, even the original Toy Story movies and stuff like that, you know that the way those movies are presented are what we would call a
There's
family film,
Yeah.
where it's like it is for children, but it also has a
With Pixar specifically, it's just like, yeah, it's for kids, but there's also a lot of like pathos and
there's a lot of
underlying-
character arcs,
Yeah.
and it does explore psychology. It explores characters and story. It plays
Growing
with all
up.
these.
Yeah.
It plays with all of these elements. So a lot of people were expecting the Mario movie to have some of this in it. In reality, it's a Mario story told on the screen. That's all it is. It's a Mario story. So
that was one of my questions. I've heard this is very much a kids movie.
so here's the
Not
thing.
in a bad way.
No,
No,
but
oh, yeah,
more
yes,
so,
yeah.
And no,
more
I
so
think.
than a Pixar.
So here's
Yeah,
the thing.
definitely more so than a picture.
So here's the
Yeah.
thing. A lot of nerds are saying, and I mean that in a loving sense, not in a derogatory sense, as a man who reads comics.
Yeah, we're all nerds. Yeah, we know what time it is. If you've listened to more than 5 seconds of this show, any episode of this show, you go
Yeah.
like, you're just screaming nerd like Homer at the.
A lot of people
college.
online are saying it can't be a kids film because it has references that I only as a 35-year-old man would understand. And I'm like, okay.
I don't think that's what they're. Yeah.
No, I'll try. They are. Trust me.
No. But that's
So,
when we say Pixar movies are also for adults, we're not just talking about the innuendo that all
Yeah.
animated movies have for the
Yeah.
adults.
We're talking about the storytelling concept.
Like I said,
itself.
the underlying themes and.
It's
pathos.
funny. So I can't remember if it was IGN or Kotaku. They actually released an article that's headline was, "This is a gentle reminder that Super Mario movie is aimed at children," which I thought was hilariously inflammatory.
That's also unfair because I think we've talked about this a lot, where it's just like people are like, "Oh, superhero movies are dumb. They're for kids. You shouldn't watch
this
them."
is different.
And animated
This is
movies
different
are for kids. They're dumb. And it's like, no, anyone can enjoy them. Shut up.
That's right. So here's the thing: the reason I think it's primarily aimed at children is because the story only exists to connect the set pieces. So the story is, it's your typical.
That's another connection with John Wick Chapter 4.
That's a John Wick Chapter 4 for children.
John Wick Chapter 4 is for kids. Take your 6-year-old to see John Wick Chapter 4. There's a doggo in it.
That's it. Yeah. So it's really bright and colorful and it looks incredible. But all the set pieces do is propel the characters forward to the next set piece that's eye candy for anyone watching it, not just children. Because as a grown man in the cinema watching it, some of the scenes took my breath away. But the story doesn't really exist. It's just, okay, here's Mario. We need to get him to this place. He's there now. And now we need, he's Peach. And now we have to find Luigi or whatever. And then it just barrels forward from there.
Yeah.
So it introduces characters, doesn't really explore them in any meaningful way, because the only reason they're there is to be like, oh, it's Donkey Kong. And then we get on, we go to the next scene.
I will say...
Keep in mind, I'm being really unfair when I say this, just to get across my point that it's a very thin story, because the story is only there to hold the attention of someone with a short attention span.
Yeah.
So that's not a negative. That's the way the story's been designed.
I mean, yeah, kids have the short attention span just that way for a reason.
That being said, like I said, again, as a grown man, I enjoyed the movie thoroughly.
Oh, it was good. I will interrupt, and I will say the best part of the movie for me is probably it. It is an isekai movie. I don't care what you say, fight me. Mario exists in the real world, or animated version of our real world, and goes to a fantasy kingdom. Fight me over it. It happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Jake, back me up here.
Pretty much,
no.
yeah. It's just, all that was missing is the fact that he didn't die to go to another world.
Yeah.
I will say quickly before Callum gets back to it, the best part of the movie, on a slight disagreement on the whole thing, where there's no sort of nothing for like adults in a story context. A slight disagreement is at the start of the movie. It's Murray being disappointed with his life and disappointing his family as a grown-ass man.
That is true.
Which I can relate. We can all
That is
relate
true.
to.
The first part of the film is the closest you get to like a Pixar DreamWorks
like
version
there is
of Mario.
definitely that kind of Mario's like depressed with his life, nothing's working out, his family thinks he's a joke, and it's like,
And his relatives are hilarious.
and his relatives are amazing. And there's that whole ad thing. So the first start of the movie is closer to like what we're talking about when we say that Pixar kind of family movie. It's gentle, but it's also kind of...
It's actual dialogue with actual characters expressing how they feel.
Yeah.
And there's, you can see the dynamics between them.
And the tonal shift is hard.
Yeah, once he goes into the...
When he goes into the... What is it? The Mushroom Kingdom? Mushroom Kingdom. The tonal shift is hard, and then it's very firmly a kid's film.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. It was always going to be like that. Like, they kind of can't really write it any
They didn't successfully weave in the emotional stuff at the beginning with the adventure through the fantasy world.
It was also kind of hard to write it in. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but I feel like Pixar movies do that though. So I think it's just.
But this is so Miyamoto. He was involved with this, right?
He was. Yeah.
Jake was telling me he's not big on story.
He's not.
So it's like this is a Miyamoto's Mario story.
It makes sense that like this is because after the live action Mario movie, Nintendo was very careful. Not even careful. They straight up just said we don't want movies. Yeah, exactly. We don't want movies made of our stuff, and it's taken this long to finally get one made.
And keep in mind, it's only 90 minutes long.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the reasons I was a bit iffy about it, is because it feels like a committee movie where it's like Nintendo is going to have their strict set of what you can and can't do and can and can't show and can and can't say. And the filmmakers are going to sort of... So it's just kind of this compromised...
Yeah.
Not that Mario has to be really deep or dark or anything.
Yeah, we don't need Grimdark Mario. No.
We already got that. We already got that version in 93.
I was like, Luigi's scared enough.
Are you ready, Mario? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Anyway.
No, I was going to say, when they make the Luigi's Mansion horror movie, that's when you can make it dark.
Anyway, we've been rambling on long enough. Jake, we brought you here for a reason. Please tell us what you thought about Mario.
No, sorry. Jake was talking about something and I cut him off with the Miyamoto because he was involved.
No, I was just answering the question. Essentially, Miyamoto is very well known for not being heavy on story, especially in video games. He's like... A lot of people do pin the blame on him for like the way Paper Mario has gone. For example, Paper Mario is known for actually having a story. At least it was.
Okay.
And now, then they kind of... By the time Sticker Star came around, that's when he kind of cut a lot of it out.
He's just about the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been through like a lot of franchises. But besides that, there was only one thing, Callum. You said that... Well, to be fair, I don't venture into Twitter. That's a realm.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't.
That's the Darklands.
We keep telling Callum to get off.
That's the Darklands to me. I don't dare venture there.
No.
But at least in terms of YouTube, a lot of YouTubers I've seen that are around our age, they actually do seem to love it. So I don't. Yeah, no. It's not that everyone our age is.
No. So it's not so much that people dislike it. It's just that people are arguing about whether or not it's a kid's film. So you have a whole bunch of people feeling really defensive because people are reacting to the label Super Mario is aimed at children.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of those issues where people get so uncomfortable with this idea that once you turn a certain age, you can't enjoy children's media anymore.
Right, yeah.
And
so
I'm
they're
like,
saying, oh no, it is for adults there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so the Super Mario movie is for kids.
Oh, yeah.
Straight up for kids.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue.
No,
it's
and that's the thing.
Kids,
that makes people uncomfortable, right? Because you're like, oh, well, if the movie's not a hard R, I'm not watching it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I'll watch a G film.
No,
you know what I mean? It's
funny.
I was at home and we have a huge we have like our Blu-ray bookcase, and I was looking at PG movies, and I was like, man, there's some bangers there that are PG.
Oh yeah.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, all these people need to relax a minute. Yes, it's for children.
I think it's
also a fun film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like I think it's a very, very positively reviewed at the moment.
Yeah.
Especially like financially, like it's making bang at the box office.
So, what did you think of the movie, Jake?
I thought it was good. I loved it a lot. I want to see it again, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, we're gonna rewatch it when it comes out on streaming. So we're gonna put it on our the Tuesday review home theater system.
No, yeah, I'm more than happy to watch it again, just because
it's fun, man. It's so fun.
I loved seeing all the references. Like that gave me like. The little kid in me was just like gleeing with joy whenever I saw anything that I could pick out.
Like
I was
the whole Rainbow
that's
Road,
a thing.
The whole Rainbow Road sequence.
Even just like smaller things. Like I don't want to spoil them, but there's like a lot of little things, even right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
That I was just like, oh, that's a thing that I know from my childhood. So I'm just like, that all of that just made me smile.
But even the action was fun, you know.
Yeah,
it was like
the action was fun. Yeah,
it's like it is engaging.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can argue as well, like, what kind of fighting do you expect Mario to have?
Yeah.
He jumps on things.
That's it.
So it's like this is as actiony as it could have gotten, really. With like we said, it's a kids movie. You're not going to expect Mario to pull out a gun, as we said.
No.
So I
Not in
think
this one at least.
yeah. So I think the action was fun and the animation was great. Everything was great. I do say the story is weak, but like you said, it's a kids movie. It's also a Mario movie. It's a Shigeru Miyamoto movie. So I didn't have huge expectations for the story, but I do agree in that it could have been done a little bit better. Maybe if it had a bit more runtime. Like I don't expect like a long runtime again for the kids. Short attention spans.
Hour and a half film.
Yeah, it's not gonna have a lot of runtime, but even just small things like, without getting too into spoiler territory, not that there's much to spoil in terms of story.
It's Mario.
Yeah,
If you played a Mario game, you know
exactly. But literally from the first scene, Bowser gets the ability to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. Yeah. Literally from the very beginning. I think it would have been a little bit more interesting if he slowly took over other kingdoms. And you don't have to show that, per se, that he actually fights every single kingdom. But maybe in just, like, tiny little scenes where, like, there's a scene where he's playing a piano, for example. Zoom out. A guard says, what do you want me to do with him? And he says, put him with the rest. You see it's the king of the Sand Kingdom or something. Just like little things like that, just to imply that he's slowly getting closer and closer, I think would have done wonders for the pacing of the movie.
That also sets up like a race against time where it's like you have to protect stop the invasion.
Exactly. It's just like, Mario, we need you to get better now.
Yeah, like
because Bowser's coming.
Exactly. One of my minor concerns or one of my minor complaints with this movie was the fact that it's like they're trying to go to Bowser, but Bowser's coming to them as well. I'm like, why don't you just wait?
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Prepare your defenses.
Just wait for him to come to you.
Yeah. And because it was just like really quick. It was just very suddenly. It's like, Mario's there. Okay, go do what you need to do. Bang, he's here, and movie's done.
And I know it's the Super Mario Brothers movie, but I feel like Luigi wasn't as big a part as I kind of hoped he would be. Because
it would have been nice to see him.
Everyone's Luigi always gets the short end of the stick,
and that's the problem. You know, the tall guy gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he was barely. You have Charlie Day providing the vocal performance, and he does fine. And I'm like, we didn't really get much of Luigi per se. He's more of a very minor supporting role almost.
That's the thing. It would have also been nice to see more Luigi because a motif that they go with is that they are stronger together.
Yeah.
That's the motif that they set up from the very beginning of the movie. Like, because, we talked about their family, how their family is kind of, riding Mario to, do better and whatnot. The only one that's there to back him up is Luigi.
Yeah, and they have a
then, you have scenes where, like, Luigi's reminiscing about Mario and stuff like that. And it kind of shows the closeness they have between brothers. So, and that, part of that does pay off at some point without getting into it. But it's just like, it would have been nice to see more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, like I said, I don't expect Shakespeare. It's a Mario movie.
Yeah.
But, I do think there are like a couple little points that could have been made and added to the runtime to just make it flow a little better.
Flesh
and just it would have made the story a little bit more, not necessarily cohesive, but like it would have just had better pacing.
It's those character moments and, like you said, the world building moments which separate this film from being what I would call the Pixar kind of style film. You know, like you can have a movie that's more aimed at children but still be in that Zootopia level. Because even Zootopia was a kids film, right?
Even like the
but
Lego,
Zootopia is also like a well-rounded, interesting film with interesting characters. Not that Mario isn't.
Like even the Lego movie. The Lego movie is very much for kids, but there's very much about something, and it's very much there's an adult. It's about imagination and growing up and whatever. Yeah. And being an adult and there's like this other stuff going on, or even the Spider-Verse. Kids, I'm sure kids love that, but that was kind of gets into some darker territory. And again, Mario doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. But yeah, it's just when I heard it's like it definitely feels like this new animated movie, like Callum said, it's just the script is just there to prop up
the franchise.
The characters. There's Donkey Kong. Oh, there's Peach. Oh, there's Toad. And he's the blocks, and then they jump, and then Bowser, and then they fight.
It's a showcase.
Yeah, a showcase of the stuff that
Nintendo property
that like Jake loves. That he, it's like it's just there. It's a skeleton to hold that stuff up.
Yeah.
And it is well done. Like I don't want to detract from the film because it is well made.
Exactly. It sounds like we're kind of
no, we're not hating on. We all enjoyed it very much.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's a reason it's making. They reckon their forecasting is that once it comes out on streaming and to buy and to rent, it'll make close to $1 billion.
That's crazy.
So it's like we can say what we want, but Nintendo, like to them, the answer is the money in the bank.
They're always they've got such strong flagship characters.
Yeah,
and franchises.
You know what they're gonna do with all that money, James?
Yeah.
Hire more lawyers.
yeah. See, this is why I'm always like, damn, I love Nintendo, but I hate Nintendo.
We are running out of time. Anyone got any last thoughts?
Yeah. No, the Nintendo Cinematic Universe is coming. Get ready.
Yeah. Now that it's so successful and Nintendo have opened up the floodgates, so to speak, I think we're going to see a lot of Nintendo animated movies and spin-offs and so on.
Kind of excited, actually.
I think the biggest one people are excited for, given this movie, is Luigi's Mansion or Donkey Kong.
Luigi's Mansion could be really cool if they got a good director to do it.
Guillermo del Toro.
But this is a movie. I'm
sure Illumination will do all the movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, if they can get someone who's got a
Tim Burton.
But I do think this is a movie for Mario fans, and if you are a Mario fan, you're gonna smile the whole way through.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I reckon that's all the time we got for tonight.
Chris Pratt does fine.
He was fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Oh no, we're going to review this movie again in a month or so.
Yeah, when James and Alan...
We'll have an extra discussion.
Yeah, hopefully Alan can come back for that, and when I see it. And then we'll get Jake back as well, and I'll tear it a new one. No, I'm sure it's fine.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Please
Mushroom
like and share.
Kingdom, here we come.
That's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram @Tuesday Review AU. We'll be back next week. Adios, cousins.
Wow.